expectations that low, it's so interesting when when you get anything, because it's like, wow, I didn't expect any. So
Oh yeah.
so 16K seems insane to me.
Yeah.
Oh, I know, dude. But on a scale of all the other narrators and channels out there,
Sure.
I'm so small. But dude, I never thought I'd get even like 100 subscribers, and I can't believe where I am. Like, I just put a video out 3 days ago, and it's at 10,000 views already. Like, it's nuts, dude. I
Wow.
never thought anyone would give a crap.
Think if you were like a independent playwright, like putting on a play somewhere.
Yeah.
If you got 16,000 people to see one of your shows, that would be insane.
Oh, I know. It's like,
So it's like it's crazy how close of an audience there is on YouTube now. Anyways,
are we live now?
We are live, so we're about to start. What I have to do every episode is I have to hit live, and then I have to go back into YouTube so I can like see the live chat while we're going.
Okay.
Yeah. So every podcast episode I have starts with me jibber jabbing with everybody. Like, hold on.
Nice.
All right. So Stacy, what's up? Billy, what's going on? We're about to start right now. Let me pull up my notes. So I try not to stutter because this is live. Okay, you guys ready?
Yeah.
All right. Welcome to the Body Count Podcast, where we discuss horror movies and talk about the ins and outs of our favorite ones. I am your host. We shouldn't be here. Joining me are the very credible and accidentally funny hosts of the Horror Movie Talk podcast, David and Bryce. What's going on, guys?
Hi.
You guys want to talk a little bit about what you guys do?
Yeah. We do.
There you go.
So yeah, we're two buddies. We met each other in a carpool working at a digital marketing agency, and we've always been looking for an idea on what we could do a podcast about. And back in, what was it, Dave? Like
it was right around when Hereditary came out. So
yeah, right when Hereditary came out, I dragged David and my other friend Kevin to it, and they didn't know anything about it, and we loved it, and then spent like about 2 hours talking about it afterwards, and the light bulb went on and said, this is something that we could talk about a lot. So we decided to start a podcast, Horror Movie Talk, and we just review pretty much any horror movie, but we focus on new releases because that's what gets the most listens, we found. And so if there's any new release horror movie that we're interested in seeing, we'll see it. And then the next Wednesday, the episode will come out. Other than that, we'll take any comers for horror movies. We've done anything from Sleepaway Camp to, The House That Jack Built to like the classics. What's like the most classic one we've done? I don't think we've done The Exorcist yet, but we've done
probably Gremlins. Gremlins is the most classic.
Yeah, we've been doing it since the end of July, and steadily growing, and it's still like a little project for us, but we take it pretty seriously and try to be professional and make it fun for listeners. So we're glad to be here.
Yeah, and you're available on iTunes, but are you available on other platforms?
Yeah, we're available on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, pretty much anywhere that you can find podcasts. If we're not there, I'd be surprised. And we also have a YouTube channel. We just upload the audio after it's gone live for all the other platforms, but it's a little hard to find us because we've got maybe like 2 subscribers, so it's not the algorithm isn't kind to finding Horror Movie Talk on YouTube, but you can find us there. Our logo is like a skull with headphones on a red background. So
if you want to find us anywhere, you can find us at our website. Our website has all the links to all our social media, like in YouTube, and that's just horrormovietalk.com.
Yeah.
And I was telling these guys before we started that I think out of all the 15 probably movie review podcasts I listen to, they're probably top 3 favorites. And I fell in love with these dudes very, very fast. So happy to have you guys on. And They recently just did a review on which Paranormal Activity did you do?
Number
The
2.
Ghost Dimension.
Oh, the one that we released, we did Ghost Dimension.
Ghost Dimension. I actually disliked that one quite a bit.
It was bad.
Yeah.
It was definitely bad.
Yeah, it had, maybe 1 or 2 decent scares. I thought, like, jump scares. All these movies are is jump scares.
Yeah.
You're not gonna see this and be like, wow, that was a really well thought out scare. It's really just like, where's the scare gonna come from? And that's all it really is. But in Ghost Dimension, I think they tried too hard to make it like a story and actually have twists and stuff. And I was like, just stick to the formula. There's a reason people like Paranormal Activity, and it's not for this crap. It's for the 5 different camera angles and then seeing something on different nights.
Yeah.
That's all we like.
Exactly. Yeah, the other thing I think they did really wrong with the Ghost Dimension is it was released as a 3D movie, so they threw in all these horrible effects that didn't make any sense and didn't add anything to the movie. They were just like eye candy. And so you were kind of left with this superfluous stuff that didn't make sense and didn't need to be there and just they weren't scary or effective, so it was like, why is this here?
Yeah, it was really weird. And the one thing I remember the most that was a complete turn off, even though it was a turn on, was the girl with the huge boobs.
Oh yeah, she was great. She's the best part of that movie.
Yeah, but I mean, honestly, like when she was in there, I was like, come on. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, okay, we like chicks. Okay, they're hot, but you know what? We don't, this is not why I'm watching this movie. So get her out of here. She's stupid. But anyways, the reason I brought that up is because you guys just reviewed that recently. I thought it was a good episode, and I was like, man, I really wish I could have been there to, have my input on that. And I was like, well, you know what? Let's talk about an actual movie that I do like. And the movie that we're going to talk about is Paranormal Activity number 2. And this movie was released back in October 2010 with a budget of this pains me to read how cheap this is. $3 million to make this movie, and it made 177.5 million. That's insane.
I think the Paranormal Activity series as a whole holds the record for being the most profitable movie series ever made. I'm not 100% on that, but if not the most profitable, definitely top 10, maybe even top 3. So,
oh, I believe it. These movies are, I mean, honestly, you could probably just make another one of these movies with a camera. I mean, these types of movies sparked a lot of, I don't know, I wouldn't want to say the found footage type movies, but I mean, you can see how cheap you can go and how much you can make if it's done well. And they definitely do it well. So let's get into the plot of Paranormal Activity 2. And it goes a little something like this. After experiencing what they think are a series of break-ins, a family sets up security cameras around their home only to realize that the events unfolding before them are more sinister than they seem. Wrong type of movie. But I just want to ask you guys, what were your initial thoughts on number 2?
You want to go first, Bryce?
Anybody can go first.
I think it used everything that worked in the first one and expanded it slightly, not to the point that it broke. I loved Paranormal Activity, and Paranormal Activity 2 is just as good, if not, yeah, well, I mean, I guess I wouldn't say it wasn't better, but it was definitely a really, really good sequel to it. So, and it's out of the ones that I've seen, for some reason, it still sticks with me. Just some of the visuals from it, some of the key scenes from it, stick with me even more than Paranormal Activity 1.
Yeah. Well, I think there was more in this one. What I really liked about the first one, which I can't really remember, but I have this memory that I watched number 2 and then I watched number 1. I think somebody told me, they were like, you don't need to watch them in order. So far, there's only 2 of them. And I was like, all right. And so I watched number 2, and then I was like, dude, that was good. And I was like, well, number 1 is the one that people were raving about. So I'm like, well, let me watch number 1. And I was like, dude, honestly, I kind of like number 2.
Yeah.
Better.
I just looked it up. Paranormal Activity 1 had a budget of $450,000 with a profit of $89,318,000. So it had an
Jeez.
ROI of 19,749%.
Holy crap. That's insane.
Yeah.
Number two did, I mean, from the
Yeah.
3 million to, that's a lot better too. David, what are your thoughts on it?
Paranormal Activity is a franchise that Bryce and I tend to agree on a lot. And the second one is obviously it's one of the strongest three, I'd say. I mean, 1, 2, and 3 are all really, really strong. And when I think of Paranormal Activity, I often think that I'm thinking of the first one, when in reality I'm thinking of the second one. So I have like, for example, the scene that sticks with me the most, and we've discussed this quite a bit, Bryce and I, is the pool in number 2. And I don't know why, but the shots, so the premise behind Paranormal Activity 2 is there's a break-in, and or what they think is a break-in, and then that's their excuse to get home video surveillance put in their house, which is a great premise. It's believable. Who wouldn't believe that? There's a break-in. So for some reason, nothing gets stolen during the break-in, and then they get cameras put in their house. Great. So then you have this cycle, and this is really what makes the movie work for me, is it just cycles to a bunch of still shots of security cameras where where each shot is shown for about 15 seconds, and it forces your eye and your attention to wander throughout the scene. And when it hits the pool, there's the pool skimmer driving around in the pool. So it gives your eye something to look at, and you're just waiting for something bad to happen. And that really works for me about number 2.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. That's what I started disliking about the newer ones. There was one that was, I don't mean to come off like stereotyping or racist sounding, but there was one that was like Mexican themed. You guys remember that one? It was like,
Yeah,
I've
the
no
marked
idea.
ones.
Is that the marked ones?
Yeah, it's the marked ones.
Yeah, where it's like a bunch of like Mexican like teenagers. I
Yeah,
just remember, yeah.
it's the in number 2 they have the babysitter or the nanny, and I believe the marked ones it follows her in when she gets laid off from number 2. I think that's how it
Oh,
works.
really?
I believe so.
Wow, I missed that.
Her family, her kid and his friend.
Oh, dang. Okay, well,
That's
yeah.
one that I haven't seen. I haven't seen the marked ones or number 4, I think. I think I've seen all the other ones.
The marked ones is a waste of time, in my opinion. Except for the end, because there's actually a pretty good twist to the end where they go in this. You care if I spoil it a little bit for you?
I'll
Or are
put
you gonna watch it? Okay, well then I won't spoil it, but they basically it's a pretty cool twist. It kind of ties into the rest of them. They all kind of tie into each other, but the way that they tie the end of the marked ones into the rest of them, I thought was pretty creative. So,
cool.
But we're not here to talk about that one. We're here to talk about number 2. And what I was saying was like, I don't like the marked ones. I don't like the ghost dimension because they started going away from what made the other one successful, and I just didn't appreciate that. I was like, dude, this is stupid. I don't want handheld cameras running around everywhere. I want them staged, and I want to see the different shots. Like you were saying, David, was that what you like? Is even the pool skimmer gives you something to look at, but you're kind of like, well, I don't want to stare at the pool skimmer because what if something's going on in the corner, you know?
Right.
And so it's like, oh man, it's just like it takes your eyes in different directions, and then it even makes your brain think, and you're like, did I see something right now? Or like, did I not? Am I missing something? Because what usually happens, at least in the second one, is that it'll say like day 1, you know what I mean? Or night 1 or something like that. And then it'll show you all the different shots, but nothing happens the first night. It just
Right.
shows you all the different shots, and you're like, did I miss something? Or did they just not show me something? I don't know, because there's so much, that my eyes are jumping around looking at. But then when it gets to like night 3 or night 10 or something, I love how it progresses and gets worse and worse for them. It's just like, I don't know, like when you're watching not the night part, but the day part where they're all talking and BSing and trying to figure things out, you kind of have a sense where you can sit back and just breathe a little bit. Like, oh, okay, I know nothing's gonna happen right now. But then at night, when it's like night 3 or something, you just like, okay, here we go. Crap. You know what I mean? Because it's
Yeah.
like, you're about to get spooked. And the best part about it is you don't know what room it's going to be in, what camera it's going to be on, and you don't know where it's going to come from. And that is the best part of these movies. It's the suspense that it builds. It does it masterfully. What do you guys think about
they're
that?
really excellent at reeling you in over time, and they don't oversell it from the beginning. It's really a lot of subtle things, and then it builds up to by the end. Then it gets to the ridiculous part, but by then you're so bought in, and you're bought into the idea of it that you're willing to believe some of the ridiculous stuff that happens at the end.
Oh, it's complete chaos by the last few nights. And I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. But what I really liked about this movie compared to the first one is I think everybody should be familiar with the story of what Micah and Katie, right? That's her name?
Right.
What?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, Katie. I know the sister of this movie has a similar name, but I can't remember it. But yeah, Katie. So you get to see like on night 1, night 3, night 5, whatever. Like that scene where Micah's in bed and Katie gets up and she's just like staring at him for like 6 hours or something like that, right? Like that stuff's creepy and everything, but again, everything happens at night. And so during the daytime everything's safe, but the difference in this movie, which I really loved, is actually some of the best jump scares of this movie don't happen at night. They happen during the day out of nowhere. And I don't want to bring that up yet and talk about it because it's going to be in my top 3, but there are some really good jump scares that happen when you least expect them, and it's very effective. So let's get into our favorite characters and least favorite characters. So David, you go first on this one. So who's your favorite character of this movie?
My favorite character in number 2 is my favorite character in number 1 because I love Katie. I just she is a woman after my heart, and and she shows up in this movie, and it makes the movie for me. And in fact, I think there are some instances where around the web, like on IMDb, like if you hover it on Google and a few other places, it'll say on number 2 that her and Micah are the stars of this movie, or the most prominently featured people in the movie. So
Wow.
I'm going with that. I'm going with Katie. I love her.
Okay. And who's your least favorite character?
Least favorite, I mean, this is pretty easy. I don't know it, but I'm gonna guess that both you guys are gonna agree with me on this. It's the dad, because he's the doubter, right? He's the guy who is constantly saying, "Yeah, it's the wind. The door closed because the wind pushed it, and everything's explainable. And there's no ghosts. What are you talking about?" So he's set up as like the patsy, or the foil.
Yeah. Real quick, off subject. Have you guys seen the movie Lights Out?
I haven't yet.
I have.
Ooh. Okay, well, this is no spoilers, so don't worry, Bryce. But the main girl character in that movie, when stuff starts going down, what you were saying, David, was that you don't like the dad because he's the doubter, But in that movie, when things start going down, the girl is like, "Yep, I believe you." You know what I mean? And it's just like that's so different than other horror movies when everybody is a doubter until they experience what happens. That girl believes it from the beginning when her little brother tells her what's up. But anyways, back to this movie. So those are good answers. I'm excited to react to those after Bryce, after you go. Who's your favorite character?
My favorite character is Abby, the dog.
The dog?
Yeah. That was a good dog. And that was like the biggest heart-wrenching moment was when Abby gets hurt. I was like, no, not Abby. Because she's like the main character during the night when stuff is happening, just padding around, looking at doorways and stuff. Like, yeah, God, I was rooting for Abby the whole time.
Oh yeah.
Least favorite, same with David, Daniel Ray, the dad, just easy to dislike because I don't really care what happens to him, and yeah, it's easy to dislike the doubter guy. especially when it's like stuff is happening that you couldn't deny in real life. Like, you got your wife has been bitten. It's kind of like, it was the wind. Stop your complaining. Walk it off.
You must have done that when you were ironing my shirts. Oh wait, that didn't happen. That's because you're not ironing my shirts. Get back in there and do your chores, lady.
Ouch.
Just kidding. Okay, so cool. I'm very excited to tell you guys something that's gonna make you guys not like me. My favorite character is the dad.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know why. I was thinking about every character when it comes down to the daughter, the dad, the mom, the sister, Micah, the dog, the baby, and even the house cleaner lady. And none of them stuck out to me the way that the dad stuck out to me, because and the initial reason they put the cameras in, again, like you guys said, was they have a break-in. And I really liked when you see him like freaking out about the break-in. I don't know, because I'm one of those guys, I'm sure you guys are too, when you're watching a movie, especially a horror movie, you really are judgmental and critical about acting and like, oh, you suck, or you're good, or it's believable, or you're sad or scared, whatever. For me, I felt he was believable, even though he was a doubter and was like, yeah, oh, you're bit. Well, you're overreacting. Like, even though, yeah, I agree that part was kind of stupid, but overall, I thought his acting was really good. And I thought it was probably either the best to me or on par with actually the teenage daughter. Like, I actually thought she did a very good job acting too. Like, isn't she the one who gets locked out of the house towards the end?
Yeah.
Yeah, she like goes outside and the door slams and she's like screaming to like let her in. I don't know, for some reason, like I really dug her, but I liked the dad a little bit more, and so he's my favorite.
So it's kind of interesting. I really liked her performance in 2 as well, and I think so we actually recorded an episode for this last week, so we're pretty fresh on this. We kind of killed 2 birds with 1 stone because we knew we were going to be doing this episode with you. And so we recorded our own podcast on it. So I think I read that she was like 21 or 2 when they recorded this Paranormal Activity 2. She looks like she's 14, but I think she was in her 20s or close to it.
Wow, I didn't know that. But I liked her. I think there's a director's cut of this movie or something, and I can't remember which one is which. Like I can never remember which Exorcist version is the one where she walks down the stairs. Is that's not the theatrical, right? That's the director's cut.
I think that's the director's, yeah.
Yeah. So in this one, I remember I watched it one time and then I watched it again. And one of the times that I watched it, there was a scene where it was nighttime and the stove just lights on fire. Do you guys remember that?
That wasn't in the one that we saw, I don't think.
Yeah, so there must be a director's cut of this, because during one of the nights, I think the teenage daughter, she goes like outside and she's talking to a boy or something like that, or something like that or whatever. And when she's outside, the stove catches on fire, or she sneaks out, or something like that. But she's supposed to be inside, and she's not inside, and then the stove just turns on.
That's I do vaguely remember that. I went to see this in theaters. I don't know if that's. Well, there's a few in all the Paranormal Activities, or at least in 1 and 2. In 1, the Ouija board lights on fire, and in 2, there's some sort of, wasn't it, Bryce? Didn't we see some sort of fire in number 2, or am I dreaming that?
I don't know. Maybe my memory's bad, but I don't remember it.
Like I said, I watched it once, and there was no oven scene or stove scene, and then I watched it again, and there was. Yeah, so she's like outside, or she's doing something with a boyfriend, I don't know, or something like that, and the stove like turns on, and it's just like the flame is like really high, and the dad comes running downstairs off camera, and he's like, whoa, 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 and he like puts it out and stuff, and then he like catches his daughter not in the house. And he's like, what are you doing? She's like, it wasn't me. And he's like, you trying to burn the house down? She's like, I didn't do it.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that, but it's definitely not in the version that we just watched. And I'm actually looking back at Molly Ephraim. That's the actress who plays the daughter. Anna, is it?
I don't know.
Yeah, and she was born in 1986, and Paranormal Activity 2 was released in 2010, so they were shooting in 2009. So at the time, she was 23 years old. but she looked like a young teenager.
Wow, no, that's cool. It's kind of like To Catch a Predator. They use an older girl to look young. Speaking of which, Chris Hansen just got arrested
For what?
pedophilia.
No.
No, I'm just kidding. No, he was writing bad checks, so he turned himself in. But wouldn't that be funny though?
That's hilarious. Writing bad checks.
Yeah, but all right, we gotta get back on track here. So, my least favorite character. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
Cool. No, you're cool, bro. My least favorite character. Well, okay, my favorite is the dad. My least is Katie, the sister. I'm sorry, dude.
How dare you?
I know. I just didn't like her in the first one, and I didn't like her in the second one. Like I said, the reason I liked the dad was I really dug his acting. I thought he was believable. Katie, I feel the opposite. I feel like she's very not a good actress. I can't help it. In the first one, I didn't like her, and I thought she was completely rude to her boyfriend, who was concerned, you know what I mean, and wanted to like document everything just in case things were really going on, especially because Katie has an effed up past, and she was completely rude to him, and I didn't like her. And then in this movie, I didn't like when they were all hanging around the pool, and she's like, "I'm the cool aunt," and stuff. I don't know. I just didn't.
Did you have a girlfriend who was like Katie? Did you have a girlfriend who was, haunted by a demon and then eventually possessed by a demon? Is that what's going on? Is that why you dislike her?
Yeah, it just brings back a lot of memories.
That's fair.
Yeah, her name was actually Kathy, so I mean maybe. But no, I mean honestly, the reason I just don't like her acting. It really comes down to her acting. I didn't believe it. I didn't buy her, and especially towards the end where she snaps the dad's neck. It was pretty dumb, I thought. Like, I just thought she just stands behind him and he's not knowing that she's doing this, and then she just like grabs him and just like twists, and then he falls to the ground.
Yeah.
Like very animated and very not real looking. And then she's just still standing there, and then she gets the baby and bounces. Like, I don't know. I just for some reason I didn't really like her. I liked her in the fourth one. I don't know if you guys saw that one though.
That's the only one that I have not seen.
Okay. Well, it's a good one. A lot of good jump scares in that one. And it's they use, you might guys remember the Kinect for Xbox?
Sure.
Okay, well, I don't know if this is true, but apparently if you're filming and then you turn the lights off with the Kinect on, there's like a million little dots. Like you can see the sensors if you have night vision on. You
Okay.
can see the sensors covering the room. So it was cool because you got to see the entity like moving across the room. But it wasn't like Ghost Dimension where it's like it looks like a bunch of jizz in the air. It was like it was cool because it was just like motion. And I don't know, it was really cool. You should check out number 4 if you haven't, and you should review it too.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah. So Dad's my favorite, Katie's my least favorite. So I hope you guys still like me after this. So
it's hard actually because I think I actually like all the characters. There wasn't anyone that I really disliked, but if I were to pick a least favorite, it would have been the dad. But yeah, I agree with all the points that you made. It's a strong character, and it helped with the plot, obviously, to have him in it. So, but as far as who you can get behind, it's definitely not my father.
Yeah. No, I agree. And trust me, like I don't need you guys to like be like, no, it's I disagree, but it's all good. Like, no, trust me, like if you guys want to be like, dude, you're an idiot, I'd be like, okay. I know.
Well, yeah, you're completely wrong about Katie, and I will fight you about it. So
that's cool, dude. I'll give that fight up. You're the winner. No, she's cool. She's a thick chick. All right, so let's get into the flaws, because every good movie has some flaws. So I will start with this one, and I will say I kind of touched on this a little earlier, but I would say that probably the biggest flaw of not just this movie, but all the other Paranormal Activity movies is sometimes the night one or day. Is it night one when they first show it? Does it say night one or day one?
Probably night one.
Night one. Oh, I can't remember. But when it says night one, sometimes this, like you said, each shot, and there's probably 5 or so, is like 15 seconds each. And you're just staring around, and you're like, the tension's there already, and you're looking around for something. And the first night around, like nothing happens. And it's kind of like, well, shoot, You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It just kind of like bums me out. It's like, let's just get this movie going. Because I had to sit through freaking 15 minutes of you guys just like bull crapping around with each other. And then I had to deal with night one, not seeing anything. Now I got to deal with another freaking 10 minutes of you guys just talking about nothing until we get to some good stuff. Like, I just don't like how long it takes to get to the good stuff. What do you guys, what's some flaws for you guys?
I'll go first.
Okay.
One of the things that bothers me sometimes is just when things that don't make sense, or they ignore something that it'd be impossible to ignore. Like when after the daughter is locked out of the house and her dad doesn't believe her, she goes back to the security footage to prove that something actually happened. And of course, the dad doesn't believe her. But the one thing that I was like, wait a minute, how could you not see the other stuff that happened? The dog being like pulled down to the stairs, or I can't remember. There's other
the
stuff.
baby. It was the baby was getting pulled out of the crib.
That's what it was. The baby gets pulled out of the crib and is like walking around downstairs, and like that. You just never, through rewinding through the security footage, you never saw that the baby was walking around downstairs, and that was something that might be a little weird. I don't know. It just was kind of it's a stickler thing, but it was a disappointing plot hole for me.
I agree with you on that. And I will say, okay, have we all seen number 3?
Yeah.
That's the one that takes place in like the 70s or 80s or something like that. One thing I liked about that was the main guy of that movie. He's like, I need to film everything, remember? And remember the very first night, they're like about to have sex, make a sex tape. And then there's like an earthquake or something. And there's the dust that falls from the roof and it covers like somebody standing there.
Oh yeah, man,
like
I gotta go back and watch that one.
Yeah, it's just as I'm talking, it's just all like coming back to me. But yeah, so that's what happens. And then I remember the guy, he goes back and he's like, oh my God, like get down here, look at this. And he's like, you see this? See the dust falls? It doesn't just fall straight down, it lands on something. You see that? And like I like how instantly like the dude is just like, look at this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's not, there's no denial. Like maybe the girlfriend is like, yeah, right. But like, no, like for the most part, it's pretty quick that they're like, okay, something's happening. Kind of like with the first one with Katie and Micah. They pretty much know something's happening pretty fast. And so I definitely agree that the flaws are like, come on, like you're going to see this door visually slam shut. It's not the wind. You know what I mean? You see a freaking kid walking around and you're not going to be like, wait, okay, let me ask somebody else in the house. How did that kid get out of the crib? Come on.
Right.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. David, what do you think? What's some flaws for you?
So Paranormal Activity as a franchise, again, I'm going to reference the franchise as a whole. They all have like the reason they work is because of the tool they utilize, right? So these steady cams that sit and that force your eye to look around the screen. And I love it. The problem is it's a little weak on story, which is fine if you're going to use this kind of method to produce scares, produce something interesting. The problem is when it's at the very end of every one of these, when it's all supposed to come to a big head, when everything's supposed to be shocking and horrible or amazing, it just kind of falls flat. All of them seem to have a pretty weak ending to me, and so that's my first gripe is just kind of a weak ending. It's not so impressive. It's very Blair Witchy in the way it ends, which for some people that works, not for me.
Okay, well then as a franchise, real quick, I know you guys said you haven't seen number 4. Number 4 has a terrifying ending, and I don't mean like a jump scare, like where they turn around and it's like like no, there's actually some stuff goes on and they go to a certain place and they see some stuff and they're just like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, and then the movie ends. It's just like crazy. So
okay,
yeah, definitely check number 4 out for sure. It's actually a really good one.
The other thing that doesn't work for me is, well, it's not that it doesn't work for me. It's just that this movie lacks one element that I really liked about the first one, and and the third one. Now that I think about it, which is, I wish there was some hint of a physical manifestation of the demon.
You
And
mean you want to see it?
I don't want to see it. No, I don't want to see it. I want a hint that it's in the physical realm, because like in one, you get it. They put baby powder down in the hallway, and you see the footprints appear in the hallway as it's walking down the hallway towards their room, and it's terrifying. And it's like, oh shit, this thing's in the house with, like, in there with them. It's walking through baby powder and tracking it into their room. And in 3, like you said, the dust falls, and he's like, oh my god, look, this is not normal. The dust is falling around something. And that really works for me. And you could say that they do it into when it does start to pick up the baby, or when it moves the baby. There's a few times where it's messing with the baby, and I don't like that feeling. And it's a cool effect. I just wish I could get a little bit more.
Oh yeah. Okay. See, I can agree, and I kind of disagree, because there's a lot of movies out there that we all know, loving horror movies, that it was probably a better idea to not show what it is.
I don't want to see it. Look, that's the biggest sin that Ghost Dimension commits, which is it goes full out on showing the thing, and it doesn't work at all. I don't want to see the thing. I just want those hints. That's all.
Yeah.
Okay.
The thing with the first one, what was really great is showing like the foot marks of this demon in like the baby powder or whatever it was, and it was super freaky. And they didn't really have that in this one, but I mean, there was manifestations of it. I mean, what's her name? Not Katie, but the sister. I can't remember. Christy. Like, I mean, Christy got bit, so we know that the monster's, into some kinky shit at least.
Ooh, yeah. Okay, so let me think. So, like I was saying, I agree, I disagree. Some movies put too much in, especially number whatever / Ghost Dimension, whatever. See, the thing is, like, I don't really understand, David, how you can say that when in your Bird Box review you guys were saying, like, weren't you saying how cool it was that they didn't show it?
Yeah, and I stand by that, man. I don't want to see the demon. I want more hints at it. That's all I'm saying. I like the footsteps in number 1. I like the dust in number 3.
Okay.
And I like in number 2 how it picks up the baby. I just want a little bit more of that interaction with the demon in number 2. That's all I'm saying. I don't want to see it. Period. Full stop.
Okay, so let's have some fun here. So if they call you up and they say, "Hey, we're out of wall with writing. We don't know what to do. We need your help, man. We want to show this thing, but we don't want to show too much. Like, you got any ideas? How can we show this without showing it? Like, to fit what you want, how would you put it in the movie?"
I mean, you could do some interesting stuff. So it messes around with fire quite a bit in the first one. It lights that Ouija board on fire. You could do something like you could have it turn on the sink in number 2. You could have it turn on the sink in the kitchen, because there's 2 cameras pointed at that kitchen. So you could have it turn on the sink and plug it up, and then create some sort of, like, have the water overflow into the kitchen, and have, I keep thinking about the footprint. So I'm stuck on that. I'm like a kid looking at his shoes. So you could have like 2 spots where it just stays dry or something like that. Or I don't know. That's as good as I can come up with off the top of my head.
Okay. All right. I just like to play with this stuff. So, okay. So I think, let me check my notes real quick. We're done with the flaws. So I think it's time to get into our top 3 part of this episode, where we are going to talk about our top 3 favorite things we love about this movie, whether it be scenes, the setting, the blue lights that they use for the night, whatever you want it to be. I will say, Bryce, you go first on this one. What's your We're going from 3 to 1, so your one's going to be obviously your favorite thing. So what's your number 3?
I think my number 3 is just the pool, and I can't really tell you why, but for some reason, that shot of the pool sticks in my mind over almost anything. And the pool skimmer just, it's really subtle. It's just always outside of the pool the next day, and you never actually see it until later on in the film. But I think there's just something primal about having that pool, and you're like, something's going to happen with that pool. Something important is going to really happen with that pool, and then it never does, which I find funny and really amusing. Number 2, I really like the excuses for filming. That is kind of a sign of quality for me with all these movies. It's easy to say that what they're doing in the franchise is a gimmick, because it is. The found footage movie of steady or stable cameras that are monitoring, it can get pretty tired pretty quick, and by the later films like Ghost Dimension, they just don't even try to explain why they're doing it. They're just like, hey, look, we found a camera, now we're going to film absolutely everything. Don't think about it. But this one, it made a lot of sense, because early on they're filming before and right after the baby's birth, which normal people would do, and just seeing conversations and stuff. And then it cuts to much later, where they're cataloging the damage of being ransacked for insurance purposes, which is also great, and just really great storytelling. Of you're just trying to acclimate yourself to, like, okay, what's going on, and you realize what's going on is their house is broken into and ransacked, and then that sets them up for the great excuse to set up just an elaborate security camera system to cover the whole house. And it's just, these early Paranormal Activity movies, they actually went through the effort of explaining why they're filming, through either character development or stuff that happened that makes sense to set up cameras. And then later in Ghost Dimension and the other less high quality movies in the franchise, they just don't even bother. And then my favorite thing, and it's my favorite thing for the whole franchise, is the sound of the monster, that really, really subtle rumble that signals that something's here. Even if nothing happens, just having that rumble tells you there's a presence here, and it makes you really uneasy, to the point where by the end of the film, it just cuts away to black before the credits, and it just has that sound playing, and it's really unsettling. And it just illustrates the point that it's very, very effective how they set up your expectations and your dread around that low rumble sound. And then just in general, the sound design for the whole movie is fantastic, and some of the stuff that they do to signify, something, you're not seeing what's happening, but something very serious is happening from the sound.
Okay, those are your 3, or that was just all number 3?
That was my top 3.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I agree with that. I don't see, the thing is, when I think about these movies, I don't think about the sound until somebody brings it up, like you guys, and then I'm like, oh yeah, that was sight. You know what I mean? Like, I love that, because you're right. It starts off like this really low, like, bass, like, and then, like, when something's about to go on, like, it's gonna get louder and louder, and then, like, a light bulb's gonna pop or something like that. And I really like how that, like, and then it's like pure quiet, and you're like, oh, the thing's gone. But it was like, dude, that's a trip. So yeah, I really like the sound of it. This whole movie's fantastic. So David, what is your top 3 favorite things about this movie?
Mine are fairly similar to Bryce's. I definitely, like I said earlier, the visual of the pool sticks with me so much that it's it's almost the cornerstone of what I think of for some stupid reason when I think of Paranormal Activity movies. I think that goes back to when I saw it originally in theaters uh, with with now my wife, and and there was one, like you guys mentioned, every morning the pool skimmer somehow found its way out to the out of the pool, and I remember when when we were watching it, there were some very vocal girls in the movie theater, and when there's this one scene at night where the pool skimmer actually creeps all the way up the wall of the pool and then creeps out on does a 90-degree and then like keeps going on the top of the cement. And these girls in the movie they just lost their mind. They were like, "Oh shit. Oh shit." And so that might be, I remember that very distinctly. So that might be why I love the pool so much. So the pool, that's one of them.
Can I comment on that real quick?
Yeah, please do.
Both of you guys brought that up. I think I know why, and I think it's because from the first movie, everything they film is indoors. In the second movie, everything they film is indoors except for the pool, and I think it's a different type of scenery. You know what I mean? So you're not looking at a kitchen, you're not looking at a living room, and you're not looking at a bedroom. You're looking outside and you get to see the trees kind of blowing in
Yeah.
the wind. You get to see the pool, and it's a lit how do you say, lighted pool, and you can see it's not like dark. You know what I mean? Like it's like a nice lit up pool and you can see everything that's going on. It's just I think it's visually appealing to look at for some reason. For some reason the director was like, we need to have a pool in this movie. You know what I mean? And for what? For that tiny little pool skimmer to come out, like that's not that big of a deal, but for some reason I think it's just visually appealing to see a pool and kind of get your mind out of the house. I think that's the only thing I can come up with because for some reason that pool is pretty cool.
Yeah,
I think you're onto something. Like not only because you see the wind blowing and the foliage moving, you kind of, it gives you something to look at, and it makes you second guess whether you're missing something. Like I know there's some things moving, but is there something moving that I should be watching?
Right.
And it gives you a very, very uneasy feeling. So, yeah.
Yeah, totally. It's a good way to put it. So what's your number 2?
My number 2 would probably be the simple practical effects. I really I like the way the first 2 or maybe 3 Paranormal Activity movies really get by on a shoestring budget, and they make regular everyday stuff really really horrifying, which is so like you mentioned much earlier in this episode. um, you're trained to be scared of the night. All the spooky stuff happens at night. But there's at one point when, after the family's been talking about this demon for, a while, when they've really kind of worked themselves up into a frenzy about it. Uh, what's her name? Christy is trying to forget about it, and it's like 11 a.m. She's sitting down with a cup of coffee in the kitchen and reading her magazine, and all of a sudden every single drawer and cabinet pops open in the whole kitchen. Just boom, they all explode. And that's hair raising. That's terrifying. If that happened to you, you'd lose your mind and run out of your house forever. And so that really really works for me. Is these simple practical effects of just winding up a child's toy and letting it go in the middle of the night when there's nothing there to make it go. That kind of stuff, I love it. You don't have to be glitzy or glammy with your special effects. Just make the concept creepy and terrifying, and I'm on board. And the third thing is, I just really like the premise of all the Paranormal Activity movies, or at least 1, 2, 3, and it sounds like I would really like 4. I didn't mind the marked ones, but the premise is solid, and the steady cams are great, and the way they typically justify shooting everything is great. So very much like what Bryce said, I really like that it's all fairly believable. And if you and your family were to be haunted by a demon, this is exactly how I would imagine it going down. It's a very real life scenario. It's an extraordinary scenario that is made believable by these premises that they come up with to kind of explain everything. So it makes it easier for me to relate to it and buy in.
So you know how like every found footage movie has to come up with a clever reason for why somebody is filming 24/7, right? And I would say about 70% of the time the movies have a pretty good reason. You know, like did you guys see The Visit with M. Night Shyamalan's movie?
No, I haven't seen that one.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
that's the Alzheimer's one, or that's the Sundowner Syndrome one.
where the kids have to go stay with the grandparents.
Yeah, with the grandparents who go crazy at night.
Yes. And the reason why they justify that they need to film stuff all the time is because the girl is like she's like a teenager and she's like, I want to try and like be kind of like a director, kind of, you know what I mean? She wants to like get into film stuff, so she's filming everything because she's practicing. And then the little boy in that movie wants to be like a rapper, so he's constantly like filming himself, you know. So there's always a camera going for some reason. But at the end of the day, like, especially I will say one of my top 5 favorite, I guess you can call it horror, I'm not sure, but Cloverfield. You guys seen that one?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's my favorite found footage movie, hands down. I love that movie, and even though I love it, I will still agree that like there's times when they're sprinting through the city trying to get away from something, and you can still kind of see what he's filming. And you're like, yeah, the F right. You know what I mean? Like you would have your video camera by your waist while your hands are flailing because you're running away from an alien. You're not going to be at all steady on anything. But so it's a little hard to believe. But what I really liked about this movie, I guess I'll get into my top 3 now, so I don't give anything else away, because you guys kind of said all my favorite stuff. So I'm gonna have to like on the spot come up with 3 different things. But one of my top 3, I'll stick to this, even though I already talked about it, was my number 3 was the dad reacting to the house being broken into, because I thought of how realistic it was. I don't like when people oversell their emotions, where normally they'd be like, God damn it, you know what I mean? Like, what did it take? God, yeah, this, you know, what? And they'd just be like super pissed. And like, I just liked the way the dad, he was like upset because somebody broke into his house, but he wasn't, I don't know, he wasn't overacting, in my opinion. I thought it was pretty good. So that was my number 3. I just thought overall I like that dad character. This is one you guys didn't bring up, so I'll bring this one up. My number 2 was the high chair falling over. Do you guys remember that?
Vaguely. What
Okay,
can you walk us through that?
I will do my best. So what's the sister's name? Not Katie, the other one.
Christy.
Christy. So Christy she's in the kitchen. I'm pretty sure. Okay, it's either the high chair or just a regular chair or something like that. But she's in the kitchen and she's walking towards the sink or something, and all of a sudden a chair or the high chair just falls over, and she just like turns around and she stares at it. But she, you know what I mean? Like she like jumps and then she turns and she like looks at it, and it's just laying there on the ground, and she's like, what? Like, what? You know what I mean? Like, what just happened? How did that
Yeah.
fall over? And she's staring at it like confused. And I like that because she doesn't like run away. Like, it's early in the movie, so it's one of the smaller type of scares. But for some reason, I just like how it just falls over. It's kind of like you can imagine the ghost just staring at her and just like pushed it over, like begging for her attention in a negative, evil way, you know? And so she turns around, she looks at it, and she's like any of us, like, you know what I mean? Like we walk around and let's just say like a piece of paper like flies off the counter and it falls on the ground, and you're like, wait, how did that happen?
What was
You know what
that?
I mean? What was that? You know, like it's not windy in here. How did it fall? But you kind of just dismiss it. And that's what she did. She's staring at it, trying to like figure out what just happened, but she ultimately dismisses it. And she's like, okay, that was weird. And I don't know if I just really like that part. I don't know why. I just like how simple it was, but it's still kind of like, oh snap, like something's happening. You know what I mean? And I don't know.
Yeah.
I dig it. So my number one was, I was hoping you guys wouldn't bring this up, but you did. But the cabinets bursting open scene when
Oh,
she's
yeah.
in the kitchen. I remember like physically jumping out of my chair. Like like it was so scary to me. Like I was watching it and she's just sitting there and she's just like, what is going on? What is going on? And all of a sudden just like boom, everything just bursts open at once and she screams and it's like a super loud bang too. And I have, you can't watch these movies quietly. You gotta have the volume up. And so I was sitting there in the dark and I just like, oh my God, I jumped out of my seat and was like, oh my God, like my heart was racing after that. And I was like, this is why I watch these movies for scenes like that. And I freaking dig it. What do you guys think? What do you think about my top 3?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's for me. There's so much about this movie that works that you're not really going to hear me disagree with much of that. I mean, I don't like the dad, but it's not like I can't see why you wouldn't enjoy him as a character if he worked for you. I mean, he's good at being a dickhead, and and that in itself, that's a good part of the movie. So I get it. I get your top 3.
Yeah, I wish you guys remembered that part where the chair falls over. It's hard to explain it, but it's a really effective scene, I felt. But overall, I think this movie is cool because the reason I brought up, Cloverfield, was it's very unbelievable sometimes when they're riding through a town at full speed and you can still see what they're shooting. Like, yeah, right. Nobody's gonna have any mind of, well, I need to film this. Like when you're being chased by an alien, it's not gonna happen. But what I liked is when they break in and they get the cameras installed. It's like you don't need to worry about somebody holding a camera at an unrealistic part. They're kind of just going around their day and doing this and doing that, and then things happen, things don't happen, but everything's filmed just from an angle, just from the corner of the house. It's not filmed like through the daughter holding a camera so much where you're like, yeah, right, she wouldn't do this right now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I like that. I dig that part. I just want to talk about what's her face? The Mexican lady, like the housekeeper. What did you guys think of her as a character?
Martine. Yeah, she was I mean, obligatory. I think it served its function to show yeah, you're getting rid of the one thing that can save you by firing her. And I guess that's actually one of my things that pulled me out of the movie was the father unilaterally just fires the nanny that has raised the baby since birth. And I feel like there's kind of a missed opportunity for more of an argument um, between Daniel and Christy for that decision. But it was just like, no, you're superstitious. Now you're gone. And I think it just serves the purpose of showing like, yeah, your pride or your thinking that you know better about these paranormal things is going to be your downfall. So in that sense, I like that she was in the movie. But yeah, it's not like she stood out in particular as anything great for me.
I wonder if they put her in the movie with the intentions of tying her into future installments, or if they just got that idea later on. But I normally don't really have an opinion about characters like that, but I just felt like she wasn't needed. I felt like there was enough stuff to where it was like she doesn't need to be in it. You know what I mean? Like she could have just been out of the house when all the crazy stuff was going on or something like that. But like I didn't really think they needed to have this lady that's like, oh Dios mío, oh, it's the demon, oh, and it's just like, come on, like honestly, it just comes off more like racist than anything, and it's just like, do we really need this character? Does she do one thing? Does she really rid the house of the spirit? No. Like, but honestly, dude, like I understand why they fired her though, because like I got 2 kids, and I would go nuts if somebody was like lighting incense and candles and stuff and smoking up my house with my kids inside of it. I'd be like, get the F out of here. It's not safe. You know what I mean? Like, those are my kids. You don't F with my kids. So I get why, because that's kind of why he freaked out. He's like, what are you doing? You know, it's not as much the superstition as it was the safety hazard, I felt. Or am I wrong?
I mean, I think I would have. I mean, I guess I would have handled it differently if it was me. I would just say like, just don't do that. Please don't light incense in the house. It's not cool. And then not fire her for it, but yeah, I could see the reasoning for being annoyed and whatnot. But yeah.
Dude,
I just think overall she wasn't needed. What's up, dude?
I'm all for it. I'm all for Martine. If you can sense the demon in my house and take actions to try and get it away from my kid, burn all the incense, burn the fucking house down. I don't care. I don't want that demon more than I don't want some. Oh, hang on, my kid's knocking on my door.
Yeah, I think that's actually like one of the things that kind of upped the ante between the first one and this one is that, in the first one, I don't remember them even trying or even having any idea of how to get rid of the demon other than just ignoring it. And so in this one, having Martine there is the first instance of actually being able to proactively address the haunting, and then it's just cut very short because the dad's like, no, we don't need any of that nonsense in here, and then ends up being his downfall.
But they did though, right? Like in the first one, I thought that they called like that older guy, and he comes in and he's like, "Oh, what you have here is a entity or something." And
okay, it's been a while since I watched it, so it might.
Yeah, they had a priest show up, and he was
no, was it? Or was it? I thought it was like a ghost tracker.
Yeah. It might have been like a supernatural a dude who is keyed in on the supernatural. That's right. But yeah, they did have that guy come in, and he was like, well, there's not a whole lot I can do.
Yeah.
Like, you're kind of SOL. Sorry.
Yeah, he's like, you can't really move because it's just gonna follow you. And then Michael was just like, well, kind of wish I knew this before I got with you. He's like, thanks. No, that movie was good too. Honestly, are you guys gonna do some sort of like franchise review on it, or what?
We'll probably get around to it. I mean, we did Ghost Dimension. We recorded a one for this movie, Paranormal Activity 2. I'm sure we'll watch 4 sometime soon, and then maybe we'll do a retrospective on all of them. But I think whenever I bring up the idea of doing like a marathon or a franchise review, we both kind of look at each other and like, I don't really want to watch 7 movies this week to do one episode. But we'll probably get around to all of them eventually.
Cool. I'm looking forward to that. So is there any last things you guys want to say on this movie? Anything we didn't cover you guys wanted to kind of talk about?
I think it's one of the best in the franchise. I know that people usually cite 1 and 3 as the best ones, but I think 2 really sticks with me more than any of them. And in some ways, I can't say why, but I think it's one of the most representative of the franchise, of fleshing out all the ideas and really utilizing the gimmicks within it. And I am a sucker for paranormal movies or family-based horror where it's a haunting that's tearing a family apart. So I'm kind of biased towards this movie because it's just everything that I want in a horror movie. But yeah, I highly recommend it.
Well, let me ask you this then, bro. Did you like The Sixth Sense?
Yeah, I really like The Sixth Sense.
What about the Babadook?
I loved the Babadook. David's not a big fan of the Babadook,
What
but
about Hereditary?
yeah, absolutely. It's
Okay.
my favorite, probably one of my favorite horror movies ever at this point.
Okay, yeah. So, because I know you like the, you just said you like the family being torn apart type of stuff. So those three
Yeah,
movies just pop straight into my head.
yeah.
Um, and speaking of Sixth Sense, there was actually something I thought about like 2 days ago I wanted to talk about on here. And it's going along with that cabinet and drawer scene where everything pops open at once. And what I liked about it, hold up real quick. Blessing, what's up, girl? You got diarrhea tonight? So, all right, backstory real quick on her. Every time I do a live stream, she's always in my live streams being awesome. And I don't remember like how it got brought up, but we were talking about the fact that she's like, I don't know, she got diarrhea or something. Like, not really, but I joked that she got it. And then every time I do a live stream and she comes in, I talk about how she has diarrhea. So she just popped in the chat. So I had to say it. Anywho,
What up, poopy girl?
what up, poo? So anywho, yeah, but in the Sixth Sense, they kind of have a similar scene in a different way. So you remember that scene where the kid is just sitting there at the table and he's eating cereal or something, and the mom's kind of standing there like not knowing what to do with him, and he's like, "You hate me" or something like that, right? And she's like, "No," you remember? And he's just all sad at the table, and then the mom walks away and goes like get something from her room, and then when she walks back, all the cabinets and drawers are open,
Yeah.
and she's just like, "What just happened?" Like, you remember that?
Yeah, that's a great scene.
It's a great scene and it's very effective because it's just like, whoa. But I don't know. Now that I look back on that movie, I don't like it as much as I thought I liked it because, like, why were all the cabinets and stuff open? Like, what did like a dead body do that or something? Like, did a dead person open all the cabinets? Is that what happened?
Yeah, yeah. Someone dead haunting them and open all the cabinets. Maybe there's just a ghost
Weird.
with Alzheimer's that was trying to find their medicine or something.
Ethel, where did you put it? um, but yeah, so that scene is similar to this scene where every like an entity, some sort of thing or a dead person, whatever, opens all the drawers. But I found this movie to be way more effective with trying to relay that type of spook
Yeah,
because when it pops open, it's the same type of like, wow, something opened all of these at once, but you actually get to see it happen. And still to this day, like I know it's effects, and I'm not gonna figure out how they did that, but how did they do that? You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like, what did they have? Like little firecrackers in there that popped everything at once? Did somebody have like strings and they pulled at the same time and opened it? How did they visually do that? I don't know.
yeah. I have the same question. I thought it was fantastic to see it all happen just explosively.
Yeah, like explosive diarrhea.
Yeah,
I've talked about this. I've asked. I think Bryce and I had a little talk about this last week when we were recording a podcast about this movie, which is, yeah. I don't think it's strings. If I had to guess, it'd be a bunch of little pneumatic pistons like that they just like mount underneath the drawers and they just press a button and boom, they all just pop out real quick. But
Something.
I would really like to know how they did it. I bet we could find it with the magic of Google.
Wow, no way. Yeah, well, dude, you should try and figure that out and ship that my way because I want to figure out how they did that. But I think we're about to wrap this up, so I think we need to get into our ratings now. And the rating system for this podcast is, since it is called the Body Count Podcast, we're going to rate 1 to 10 dead bodies. So 1 is you hated it, 10 is you absolutely loved it, and if you want to rate it like a 7.5, it's going to be 7 dead bodies and a pair of legs. If it is a perfect 10 out of 10, it's going to be considered a massacre of a movie. So what is David, you can go first on this one. What is your rating out of 10 dead bodies?
I think I go 8 and a pair of legs. I think I go it's pretty high up there. It doesn't commit too many sins, and it's all the stuff I love and very, very little of the stuff that I dislike. That, like Bryce said at the start of this episode, that dog, I don't think we talked enough about him, but he's such a good boy. And and so I really enjoyed Paranormal Activity 2, so I'm going eight bodies and a pair of legs.
All right. What about you, Bryce?
Yeah, this is one of the rare occasions where me and David really agree, and I go 8 dead bodies flat. I don't think I'll give it a pair of legs, but yeah, 8 out of 10 dead bodies for me. It's like I said, I'm a little biased because it plays into a lot of my favorite tropes in horror movies of the family, paranormal stuff happening, not seeing the monster, kind of slow dread building and tension. So I think it's just a really great movie.
Okay. Sure. Here's the hard thing for me, guys, is that when I review movies on here, I don't necessarily pick movies I don't love. You know what I mean? So it's kind of hard to give ratings that don't kind of all sound similar to me because I'm talking about like my favorite horror movies. That's why
Right.
I'm reviewing them. Unless, I review Bird Box, where I would give that probably like a 5. You know what I mean? Honestly, because I don't really care for it that much. That's probably only when I would review something like that where it'd be a low score because this is my favorite Paranormal Activity movie. This paranormal franchise is, besides the last few, is probably one of my favorite franchises that's ever been put out there. The jump scares are so effective and they're so creative and it all makes sense. Unlike, like I said, Cloverfield, where they're running around and doing all that crap. So I'm gonna give this honestly 9 and a pair of legs because I can't really think of anything I didn't like except for, as we've been talking about it, kind of the dad's dismissal of everything's going on is a little unrealistic because I'm married, so I got a wife, and if she came to me with bites on her arm, I don't think I would just be like, stop complaining. You know what I mean? I'd be like, what the F? Let's go to the doctor. First of all, make sure you're okay and figure out what bit you. Because I didn't bite you. You know what I mean? And I would probably try to figure out what's going on instead of dismissing it. So yeah, I gotta knock it a little bit for that. And then I gotta knock it a little bit because I don't like Katie's acting. I'm sorry, David. I'm sorry. Forgive
Hey,
me, my
we
friend.
all got our own taste. I'm a Katie man. You're not. That just means more Katie for me.
Hey, you can have all the Katie you want, my friend. But yeah, so I'm gonna give it a 9.5. I think it's definitely the best in the franchise, in my opinion, and it's a really high up there jump scare type of movie, and not a dumb jump scare like a cat just goes meow, and you're like, oh, dang, you know what I mean? Like it's actually very well. And I got to say that cabinet scene where everything just opens, it's one of the best jump scares I think I've ever felt in a movie. So 9.5 for me, guys. So I just want to say thank you again for you two taking the time out of your day to come and host this with me. Once again, these two dudes are the hosts of the Horror Movie Talk podcast, available on pretty much all platforms. I think everybody uses iTunes, so check them out on there. It's pretty good. I think it's pretty darn good. Top 3 favorite horror movie podcasts for sure. I will probably try and go back and edit the details in my video and maybe put a link to your guys' thing there. If you can send me a link to your website or something.
I'll put it in the chat too right now. It's pretty easy to remember. Horrormovietalk.com.
Okay.
That'll get you all the links to all our social media and any of the cloud podcast platforms that you listen to. So yeah, and we have blogs on horror movie topics all the time too. So yeah, we'd love to, we love talking about horror movies, so we made a podcast called Horror Movie Talk.
I think it's a pretty good name.
Yeah.
Pretty straight to the point.
We searched for a good domain name, and that one we found. We're like, holy shit, how did no one already have this? This is crazy. So
yeah, it's a pretty common sounding name, but you guys got it. So own that crap, keep putting out awesome episodes. I will definitely be a loyal listener. Any last things you guys want to say?
No, thank you so much for having us on. We really appreciate it, and we'll do this again sometime.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm down. David, thanks for being here, man.
You're doing God's work. We shouldn't be here. We really appreciate it. Thanks for giving us the opportunity to come on your show and have a good time, man.
Absolutely. So I will talk to you guys later.
Okay, bye.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye.